What is up, everybody? It's Mr. Hamilton. I'd like to welcome you guys back to On the Couch. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about Shang-Chi, or actually Shang-Chi, as I just went and saw it. And let me tell you, this movie was great. I honestly kind of had a weird low expectations for this movie, and I should know better than to do that with Marvel. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, it's for me, it was just the fact that it's an unknown character coming into the MCU, and I had like my own reservations about it, and I should learn how to trust Marvel. But they did a really good job with introducing this character into this universe and this movie. This movie it was beautiful, like visually stunning and grand and epicness to it of how like large the scale becomes in this movie. The main actor Simi did a very good job of playing Shang-Chi, and between the fight scenes and him, acting, it was very good. Because like there was another channel I put out, The Real Rejects, on how sometimes you get those actors who are really good fighters but not that good acting. Like people like Tony Jaa, phenomenal actor, or phenomenal fighter. Acting in the acting department, whatever, but fighting, it's amazing. But this one wasn't like that. He was very balanced in what he did. Let's see. The fight scenes in this movie were amazing. I picked out a lot of like similarities between other movies. It really reminded me of old like kung fu movies, like 90s like kung fu movies and stuff like that. There was a lot of the fight scene in the bus was very, very Jackie Chan-esque, with the like taking off the shirt, you know what I'm saying, whipping it around. That's very Jackie Chan type fight style. Fighting multiple people at once in a tight corner, using everything to your advantage. So that was like, to me, I was like, oh, he's fighting like Jackie Chan. And somebody else pointed out that the person who did the choreography, who passed away, he actually worked with Jackie Chan in a lot, on his movie. So that made a lot of sense. There's also a point too where when they're doing like the side view and he's like beating everybody up in a row, and he does the Liu Kang fly kick, the Mortal Kombat flying kick, like legs up, like whoosh, across the thing. I was like, that's a Mortal Kombat move. So I definitely picked that out. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that you could definitely pick out from other old martial arts movies and, stuff like that. The fight in the forest felt very Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The fight scene in the building was very Rush Hour to me but instead of Rush Hour, like 300 feet in the air, But the fight scenes were well choreographed, Sometimes Marvel will do fight scenes and sometimes there's a lot of cuts. This one, it let them fight. The slow motion was really done like perfect. Marvel does have its CGI issue sometimes. I know there was a scene where he gets blasted into the lake, and the lake is like I was like, oh, that looks complete CGI. But then yet, when they show the dragons, like those things look pretty, as real as CGI can get. The storyline, I like the storyline. Here's the thing. This was a Marvel movie, and it was like Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. And the Ten Rings are there, but they're not the main focus of the story. It's not like they're like Infinity Stones or like the Tesseract or Loki's Scepter, where like the whole movie revolves around them trying to get this, like those items. They were there, but they didn't necessarily drive the plot of the story. It was more about the family. It was more about him and his sister and his father and, mourning the loss of their mom. and the Ten Rings just happened to be a component in that story, you know. So it was like family and the Ten Rings kind of operated around that, as opposed to story operating around the Ten Rings. What else? The comedy was funny. There was a few times, maybe a few short jokes, you're like, whatever. But Aquafina was hilarious from beginning to end. Her comedy was just, it was perfect. It was all, I felt like she was almost like Luis in Ant-Man. Like, her jokes were just kind of like, I feel like there was a lot of stuff that I feel like that she just kind of like came up with. I would like to think that she came up with a lot of the stuff on her own, because like some of the stuff is just like boom. And her and Simi had like this great chemistry on camera that was like as if they were like friends for years and they just happened to be in this movie together. Things that I didn't like. There was a few slow spots. There's a few times where the movie just like dips into this slow transition of just like setting up the third act, and it's just like, okay, like come on, let's go. There was a few characters that I feel like their screen time and their usability or whatever it is could have been swapped. The dude who what was his name, Razor Fist, like he got more screen time than I felt like the person with the white mask on. I can't think of his name right now. Hit me in the comments, let me know what his name was. We don't ever know who it is, nothing like that, no backstory, and he just gets his soul sucked. I was just like, really? Like, that's how they're gonna do him like that? Like, he has one cool fight scene and then they just completely erase him off the board. So that was one thing that kind of irritated me. I was like, I was really looking forward to see more of him, and we just got him for a little bit, and he just, you know, we're done. Like I said, the slow parts, there's a few of them where, and towards the end, there's like just this, like maybe like 15, 20 minute, just like, all right, let's get to the point, I like how they explained what happened to the old Mandarin, quote, from Iron Man 3. He didn't necessarily need to be in it, but he did bring his own comedic relief, which was also hilarious. There was times where even his comedy was a little like, all right, yeah, I think you guys are trying to milk it a little too hard. But all in all, this movie was great for an introduction, and like the last third act of the fight is just epic. It's so big. Like how like the epicness of like the Avengers fights are just so massive. Like, it felt like that. Like, there's just stuff going on. Like, the graphics. Like, there's just one scene that I was like, holy shit, this looks crazy. Like, I just love the fluidity of it. I love the martial arts. I love how everything tied in. Like, in all honesty, there was parts of it that didn't feel like okay, I don't want to say that it didn't feel like a Marvel movie. I want to say that if this was a movie that wasn't Marvel, it would still be good. It almost felt like fantasy. It almost felt like you were watching, like my girl said, it felt like it was a lot more Disney than Marvel. And I could see where she was coming from. It was almost like a live action Mulan type movie, if you get what I'm saying. But yeah, there's a feel of it where it's its own thing that's in the MCU. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, yes, it's inside the MCU, but it still feels like there's this world that it kind of lives in by itself. That, they mention Iron Man and, everything like that. And the post-credit scenes, which we'll talk about, have characters that we've seen. But it still just feels like it's its own world. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's connected but not connected, if it makes sense what I'm saying. Like, it's in the MCU, but it has its very own like standalone feel. It was great seeing Wong and the Abomination. I thought they were going to do more with that, But, hey, it was a cool little Easter egg tease thing that was going on. Um, I love the last part of I could watch the ending over and over and over. The fighting was amazing. The special effects were amazing. There was like a Dragon Ball Z like type moment in there, which I was going nuts over. There's just things that look really good. I can't say it enough of how good it looked. In credits, there's two. There's a mid-credits scene and there's a post-credit scene. I will say that they should have flipped them, because the post-credit scene would have made more sense as a mid-credit, and the other one, like, the mid-credit scene had a lot more, like, oh shit, you know how, like, in all, like, the beginning, like, phase 1 and phase 2 movies, like, the cliffhangers that we were getting dropped with, like, seeing the Tesseract or seeing Thanos real quick or that, it was on par with, like, that, like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? And it seems like if they would have flipped it, because I feel like it deflated. I feel like the mid credit scene deflated the post credit scene. Like, you get to the post credit, you're like, oh, that was it, because the mid credit was so like, oh man. I will say, spoiler alert, if you guys have not seen it, I'm going to talk about the end credits. So if you haven't seen it, because I know in this one I haven't really given a lot away, but I will be like breaking down, talking about the actual end credit scenes. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, please, just plug your ears or something. I want to know what they're talking about in the rings. Where's that signal? Who's it for? Where's it going? And what does that mean for the MCU? Who are they talking to? My idea was maybe it's the Eternals, because they were talking about how old the rings are. Maybe these were rings that were belonged to Eternals, got left behind, and somebody found them. That's what I'm wondering, if that's going to tie into the Eternals. It was crazy seeing Bruce and Captain Marvel. It's the MCU is definitely about to become something crazy, and I'm here for it. Seeing that the 10 rings are going to be back and the sisters leading him, obviously that means Shang-Chi is going to have a sequel. When it comes to baddies, like, we're so used to like these galactic forces now. It doesn't make sense to have anything like like the regular people like coming in and out of stuff. Like, I mean, unless they like bring in. They start doing stuff with like Daredevil and stuff, and like, because like the Avengers, in the Marvel universe, there's like levels of bad guys. There's like your galactic earthly world threat level, extinction, galaxy, universe is ending. But then you got your more like Spider-Man problems. You know what I'm saying? Like people robbing banks, this and this happening around the city. And I feel like the 10 rings are like maybe a step above that, toppling, like more on like a Winter Soldier type vibe, where the government this and this and that happening, so it's not necessarily we need Thor to come down here. No, you don't really need Thor to deal with, the 10 rings, but you could have like Winter Soldier and, Daredevil and, from some other people to clean up that. So that's what I'm wondering what they're going to do with that. I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. Couch cushions. I figured it out. That's where we're going to go. So we're not going to go 10. We're going to go 5. So I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5 couch cushions. That's how we rate things by couch cushions here. Like I said, the slow part for me was a little bit of a downer. And there's a few characters that they definitely could have, expanded on, that they didn't really expand on. That kind of was like, okay, whatever. But other than that, if you haven't seen this movie, go see this movie. 100% support it. This is just as important as any other movie out there. I love it. I love it 100%. I can't wait to see it again, because the action sequences were on point. That's all I got to say about this movie. Shang-Chi is now in theater, so make sure you guys go ahead and check it out. Thank you guys so much. Actually, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. If you guys like my reaction or my review, hit the like button, hit the share button. Make sure you guys take your seat on the couch by hitting that subscribe button, hitting the bell so you guys get notified when I'm dropping new content. So thank you guys for joining me on the couch for another movie review. Once again, guys, I am Mr. Hamilton. Peace.